Howdy, I'm Gary, Dillon Precision's Human Manual, here to bring you some tech tips on the RL1100 progressive reloading machine. If you experience occasional high primers when you're loading ammunition on your RL1100, the first thing to check is going to be the tension of the shell plate lock ring. It's very easy to do. For purposes of clarity, I've already removed the tool head from this machine. But what you're going to do is over here at station 7, push down on the edge of the shell plate. If there's any discernible movement, then you need to tighten this shell plate lock ring just a little bit more. So you turn it clockwise or to the right to tighten it. And you don't want to over tighten, but what you want to do is hold the lock ring and advance the shell plate counterclockwise while you tighten it to make sure that it can still be turned. If you over tighten it, it'll get real stiff and you'll aggravate the wear in the index lever pawl. The shell plate lock ring is snugged in place by 4 cap screws that hold these little white plastic wedges into the threads. They use a 1/8 inch hex key wrench, and you just want to barely snug them. If you over tighten them, you'll crack them, which does no one any good at all, but they don't need to be super tight, the shell plate lock ring in place. Finally, the shell plate lock ring, the underside of it needs to be greased. So while you have those tabs loose, typically when you're changing cartridges on the machine, spin the lock ring off, and this bearing surface here just needs to be lightly greased before you put it back together. The detent ball underneath the shell plate needs to be kept clean of powder residue that might fall down, get attracted by the grease, possible shavings from brass cases or bullets. So you can see at least the ball should, at rest, without the shell plate on, at least half of the detent ball should be above the shelf of the frame of the machine, and it should push down easily and spring back up easily. There are debris channels surrounding it, but when you change calibers, pull the shell plate off, pull off that ball, wipe it off, check the spring, check the height to make sure the spring hasn't collapsed. As long as at least half the detent ball is above the surface of the frame, it's good. If you slap the handle upward, what happens is centrifugal force causes the shell plate to index past the detent ball. When you pull the handle down, the tool head pin on the left side of the machine impacts the top of the shell plate. And while you have the shell plate off the machine, use some sort of a pick to clean any debris out of the case pockets in the shell plate. Often things like powder residue, cleaning media will accumulate inside of these channels and keep the case from going all the way into the shell plate, which means you start crushing rare and valuable primers and case mouths. So just whenever you change calibers, or if you notice you have issues, check those case pockets in the shell plate and make sure that they're free of any kind of debris.